In the middle of the night, the city shines brightly, and Tieu silently pastes each flyer with a picture of Truong, the man she loves, who has disappeared without a trace. Each piece of paper, each step she takes, is filled with despair and a fragile hope. Every step, every sound of tape being torn feels like a knife cutting through her heart. Passers-by just rush by, unaware that she has been walking for days without eating or sleeping, just to find the one person who promised never to make her wait. She sits silently by the bench, watching the photo flutter in the wind, tears falling endlessly. But when she's about to leave, a stranger suddenly stops staring at the flyer with hesitant eyes. If you want to know whether this person is truly Truong or just a stranger passing by, join me as the story continues. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you won't miss the next part where the secret of this search will begin to unfold. Stay tuned, and don't forget to like and subscribe to never miss out. Tieu left the photocopy shop, her breath quick, and her arms tightly holding a stack of flyers still warm from the printer. On each sheet was the familiar face of Truong, the man she had been searching for all these days. Her gaze was determined, but deep down there was a vague fear that no matter how many flyers she posted, she might never find him. The road ahead stretched under the fading sunset, its last rays gently touching her shoulders before disappearing behind the tall buildings. Tieu clenched the flyers in her hands and walked faster, almost running. The sound of her shoes hitting the pavement echoed, matching the rapid beat of her heart. Every step carried a tiny hope that somewhere Truong might see these flyers and realize that she was searching for him. She stopped at a busy intersection where the cars seemed endless. Tieu chose a nearby light pole by the bus stop and took out a roll of tape from her bag. Her hands trembled slightly as she pasted the first flyer, Truong's image illuminated by the yellow streetlight, his eyes seeming to gaze directly at her. A gentle breeze fluttered the paper, almost as if he was smiling. She pressed her lips together and continued one flyer after another methodically, as if afraid that if she stopped, she would break down. Passers-by looked at her with various expressions, some curious, some sympathetic, some simply ignoring her. But Tieu didn't care. She knew she had to do this because it was the only way she could hold on to the fragile hope that remained. When the last flyer was taped up, Tieu stood still for a long moment in the dim streetlight. Her hand shook her fingers, still sticky with the clear tape, the smell of freshly printed paper, and ink lingering in the air. She looked up at the flyers swaying gently in the wind, his eyes still watching over her, soft but distant. A brief silence filled the noise of the city, making her heart ache. She knew she had done all she could. Now, all that was left was to wait, the hardest thing in the world. She took slow steps, her legs heavy. Each step on the cold, damp sidewalk felt out of place amid the bustling city. The bright signs, the honking cars, the hurried voices, everything felt so foreign. In this world, it seemed like she was the only one left, just a small girl searching for something that everyone else had forgotten. She stopped at a small park where old stone benches lay under the shade of a tree shedding its leaves. She sat down, her backpack light, now only a few crumpled flyers left inside. Tieu hugged them tightly to her chest, as if holding a piece of her own soul. She looked down the road where the headlights of cars stretched into long streaks, maybe somewhere in the crowd. Truong was walking too, but she hadn't seen him yet. She smiled faintly, a tired smile, then realized tears had been silently falling down her face. They landed on the flyers, blurring some of his face. In a panic, she wiped them away as if losing his image meant losing everything. "I'm sorry, Truong," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I don't know what else to do. I can only search for you. I can only post these pictures and wait here, even for just a small miracle." The night breeze blew through, carrying a chill from the early autumn. Her messy hair brushed against her tear-streaked face. In front of her, the city still lived, still moved, but she felt like a lost shadow among it all. People passed by, a few, stopped to look at the flyers, but then continued walking. Tieu watched them, her eyes a mixture of hope and disappointment. Each step they took away from her left her heart emptier. As the sky darkened, the streetlights flickered on, casting a dim glow over her tired face. Sweat dampened her shirt, but she didn't stop. Tieu continued through small streets, intersections, night markets, anywhere. People passed by. She posted more flyers. She stopped in front of a shop that was closing, looking at the reflection in the glass. Her hollow, face eyes full of determination, yet tinged with sadness. In that moment, she remembered the days when Truong was by her side. He used to smile kindly and would always say, "If we get lost, I'll be the one to find you first." She chuckled softly, a smile mixed with tears. "Now, I'm the one looking for you." Truong. Tieu kept walking, her hands cracked from taping, but her heart still burning with hope. Every flyer was a prayer, a thread connecting her to him. By the time the last flyers were posted, she looked up at the night sky, now just scattered stars in the vast space. She stood there, surrounded by lights and the distant sound of cars, silently praying, "Please let someone see these flyers. Please let him see I'm searching for him." Then she walked on her small figure, blending into the crowd, but her eyes still fixed ahead, believing that as long as she didn't give up, she would find him. When patience finally wore thin, she decided to buy a simple sandwich. It was just a sandwich, but in that moment, it became the last bit of energy she needed to continue her journey. She sat down in a quiet corner, closed her eyes, and slowly ate the sandwich. Each bite was a brief comfort, but it couldn't fully ease the worry in her heart. Tieu sat there in the dark corner alone in the night. Everything around her seemed to fall into silence, and she returned to her thoughts about Truong. Would he ever notice the flyers? Or would she have to keep searching endlessly? How would this journey end? She didn't know, but one thing was certain: she wouldn't give up. She still hoped, even though the night covered everything, even though the flyers were just a tiny chance in this vast world. She sat there holding the flyers, and deep inside, still waiting for a call, a clue, a sign of Truong. The next morning, Tieu carried her basket to the riverbank, her feet covered in mud as her hands skillfully searched for crabs in the murky water. The gentle sound of the waves, the breeze blowing through the palm trees, seemed to bring back old memories. Every time she caught a crab, its claws tightly gripping her hand, she couldn't help but remember Truong's smile, gentle, warm, now only existing in her memories. Tieu stopped and looked up at the flowing water. The first rays of sunlight sparkled on the river's surface. She saw her own reflection, then imagined his figure, tall and thin, his kind smile standing by the water's edge. She reached out almost as if she could touch him, but it was just the rippling water. He vanished as though he had never been there. She sighed and bent down to continue her work. The basket grew heavier as the crabs tried to crawl out, but she gently closed the lid. She walked along the riverbank, her feet sinking in the mud, the wind blowing across the distant fields. Each step carried a piece of memory with it. By the time the sun was high, Tieu carried her basket of crabs toward the market. The village road twisted with rice fields on either side, already harvested, leaving only the stubble behind. The smell of mud and dry grass filled the morning air, both warming and tightening her heart. Every time she heard the sound of a motorcycle, she looked up, her heart skipping a beat, thinking it might be Truong. But it was always just a stranger passing by. Tieu smiled bitterly, the wind messing up her hair. She reached up to fix it, then gazed into the distance where the market began to appear behind the bamboo groves. The sounds of vendors, the calls and the laughter mixed with the early morning bird song. She took a deep breath, trying to suppress the emotions bubbling inside her. Even though life was hard, she had to keep going, because somewhere deep in her heart, the belief that Truong was still alive, still somewhere out there, never faded. When she reached the market, she set the basket down and sat by a small stall. The noise of bargaining surrounded her, but she felt like her mind was elsewhere. Among the unfamiliar faces, she suddenly froze. A familiar figure appeared at the far end of the market. That silhouette. Too familiar. Her heart raced, her hands trembled, her eyes locked onto that figure. The person turned and walked away, tall, thin, with messy hair, just like Truong used to have. "It can't be," she whispered quickly, standing up. As Tieu squinted to follow the figure amid the bustling noise of the market, her eyes sparkled in the sunlight, filled with hope, yet tinged with the fear that she might be dreaming. In the hustle and bustle of life, some memories never fade. Some people leave, but never truly leave our hearts. Could that figure really be Truong? Or was it just a daydream? Stay tuned for the next part to find out what lies ahead for Tieu. Like, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell, because this story is far from over.